Okay, of course, everyone knows if they have a question, more than open to open up the microphone and ask me, and I'm going to stop the recording. I want to speak about why I haven't been teaching like for the past couple of months. And before I speak about it, and this is actually the avodah that I'm involved in with myself, I want to talk about the way that we want to approach Shavuot. We're now counting our way, like we went out of Mitzrayim, but the going out of Mitzrayim, it wasn't to go out and be freed for freedom's sake. There was a goal to it, and the goal was to receive the Torah. So we have these like 49 days that are leading up to the accepting of the Torah. And in these 49 days, we generally try to transform ourselves. We generally try to better ourselves, to climb up to another level, to relinquish what we were before, to enable us to get to a higher level. And it's an actually ongoing avodah that we do with ourselves our whole lives. These 49 days should be more focused in the knowledge that we are entering and going to a certain goal, towards a certain goal. And we want to be a different person from, like, Bnei Israel, when they came out of Mitzrayim, they were slaves who had a slave mentality, and they wanted to also, as they got to Har Sinai and as they were getting ready to accept the Torah, they also want to transform themselves into people who are willing and able to get the Torah. So I want to talk about how we could get onto those levels. With that, I want to speak about my personal experience and my avodah and where I'm standing with it. And, and I'd also love to hear from everyone, what level do they want to get to? What level do they want to, what's the next step that they have to go to? Everyone has their own individual place and spot where they're holding. And all we want to do is just go up to another small step from who we are so that we can be because every small little change that we make has incredible ramifications to all the people in our lives, not only to us. So the avodah is very individual, and every individual that does the avodah, there are ripples and repercussions to all the people around him. Okay, there are people in this world that I'm going to say, you want to know, this is most of us, I would say, and we hoard. We hoard, like we have things around us that are not necessary in our physical life. And I want to ask a question, like, what is it to hoard? I don't have a problem when a person saves something for herself that you love. If you have clothes that you love and you save it, or any type of something in the kitchen that we have that we love and we have it for ourselves, that's great. We save it, we have a place for it. It's not jumbled in the drawers. The minute we have jumbled in the drawers, we know that we're hoarding things. Because when we love something, when we like something, we want to give it its kavod, its respect, and we're not going to jumble it in the drawer. Once there's jumble in the drawer, we know that in our minds there's in our physical space there's a hoarding. So hoarding is to hold on to unnecessary things. It's holding on to the garbage, to the waste. When we hoard, people that hoard. But there are also other aspects of hoarding in our life. I want to, let's say, give an example of our body. When we eat, our body knows to take all the nutrients that it needs, the minerals, the vitamins, the proteins, the carbohydrates. It takes what it needs to function and to perform. and whatever it doesn't need, it eliminates. It separates ourselves. It allows the body to separate the good from the excess, and then it eliminates it. Our body knows what to take in order to nourish it, and it doesn't want to hold on to the waste. It tries to get rid of it. People, let's say, who have hemorrhoids, it's because they don't relinquish the waste in their body. they're scared to, they have difficulty to, and they hold on to, I think like hemorrhoids is a physical manifestation of holding on to different thoughts and ideas, and we hold on to certain character traits that poison us instead of relinquishing it. And then that causes a lot of pain. People who hold on to experiences in their lives, it causes a lot of pain for themselves. It's like the person who refuses to eliminate their, the excess from their bodies, and it causes pain in their bodies. And that's how it is when we live with excess. Okay, now what is a Jewish person, as a Jew, what are we supposed to do with our life experiences? Because we have many life experiences, and many of them we don't choose. We go through different events in our lives. Like, I'm going to give an example of a friend of mine who is 45 years old now. When she was 12 years old, an event happened in her life, and she considers it like the most traumatic event that happened to her. That since then, she's had like the repercussions, like the waves of it are still hitting her today. She grew up in a household where the parents were constantly fighting, and she was very much connected to her father, right? And her father was like that steady, rooted person in her family that she was that she felt closest to, that she felt safest with. And one day when she was 12 years old, her parents had a huge fight. And this is, they were fighting constantly, but this fight that they had when she was 12 years old, she remembers. And the mother was egging her father on until her father, who she was very identified with, said, "I'm not willing to live like this. I'm leaving. That's it." And at that moment, she felt her breath leave her body. And since that moment, many things that happen in her life trigger her, like for this, like that minute that her father said, "I'm not, that's it. I can't take it anymore. I'm leaving." And she has a hard time breathing. And whenever like a trigger happens, she loses her breath. And it constantly happens throughout the years where she just has a hard time breathing, loses her breath. And it's all related back to that first time where her father said, "That's it, I've had it, I'm leaving." Now, what she doesn't realize is that every experience we have in our body, every experience we have in our life, throughout our growing up years, throughout our formative years, with our parents, with our siblings, with the primary people in our life, we need to take from the experience we had, right? We need to take like our bodies, like they take the minerals and vitamins and proteins and calcium and everything that they take, right? And whatever our body doesn't need, as we said, it eliminates it. It sorts and separates. How we say we need to sort and separate everything that we have. And we need to do that in our lives, within our life experience. Because in every experience, there's positive and negative. In everything. Also, in every one, there's also, positive and negative. However, we need to hold on to the positive one and eliminate the ones that are negative. And we need to realize also that everything we have in our life, we need to take from it what we need to grow and let go of the rest and continue on. Okay, so one of the things we need to do is learn how to relinquish in a smooth way. Okay, so what does it mean, relinquish in a smooth way? I want to go back to this woman, and I asked you, I asked you, what ended up happening with your parents? So she said, my father ended up staying. He never left, but just that threat that he said, "That's it, I can't go on, I'm leaving," I stop breathing every time I remember it, every time something triggers it and it comes up. So now I want for us to be able to take the concept of um wait, I'm trying to think of the word. Mm-mm. Oh, okay. The word that I'm looking for is trauma. I want us to take the concept of trauma and I want us to be able to relinquish that because at the end of the day, her father ended up staying. And why did he end up staying? He ended up staying because he actually was saying, with all the difficulties I have, I'm going to stay because I have responsibility. I have commitment. I have children. And regardless of the difficulties, I will stay. So what he was actually teaching her was a life lesson that even when things are difficult, we do not run away. We don't run away. Now, instead of incorporating that message that he had to give, right? She held on to the waist. She held on to her father saying, that's it, I've had it, I'm leaving, right? And that traumatized her. And holding on to that is like forcing ourselves not to go to the bathroom in order to eliminate everything that's excessive in us. So what we want to do in our lives is instead of looking back and being traumatized by various things that happen to us, I want us to be able to look at what we could learn from the experiences that we had, hold on to what we could learn where they serve us in a good way, and take that on in life and leave everything else behind. In other words, just like we go to the bathroom and we flush it, we leave it behind. We don't allow it to consistently and constantly play, like have a movie play within us and re-traumatize ourselves all the time. Okay, so something that doesn't build me, it is not good for me. So all the time, what we need to be doing as we come to Matan Torah, as we are trying to raise ourselves to the next level, is we're saying farewell to the thoughts that plague me and that do not do good for me. When I come to a place where where I feel myself like either jealous or bitter or angry, I know that there are thoughts in my head that are not doing good for me. And I'm going to eliminate it. I'm not going to hoard them. I'm not going to save them. I'm not going to allow them to hurt. So the kind of breathlessness that my friend was experiencing was her imagination of her father running away. Like her father running left her breathless. And all the time when she was recalling that moment or things came up in her life, her breathlessness was the running away, even though her father ended up not leaving. Like her father taught her actually something the opposite of what was traumatizing her. But she just internalized the fear that he's going to leave and she's going to be alone. I want to also take like another extreme example. And in Israel, this is very, very prevalent. There are cases of soldiers who go to war and fight in a war. And there's someone that I even have in mind. And he's with his best friend, and his best friend is killed right by his side. Is he now going to be traumatized the next 30 years? No, totally not, never. Because he could either choose to constantly play and replay in his mind the moment when the moment where his friend is killed by his side, and and how it was, and and what was, what did it smell like, and what did it feel like, and how that, and play it and replay it in his head, and that would traumatize him for years to come. Or he could choose to focus on, what did my friend teach me? What did this experience teach me? what was built in you thanks to this experience. So let's say I'm just imagining that he could think to himself, this is a man who was willing to give his life for Am Yisrael. He was willing to do everything so that we could live a free and normal life in Israel. He was protecting the people in Israel from, from any kind of terror or any kind of harm that might come their way. And this is why soldiers go into battle, and that's why they go to fight. They go to fight because they have ideals. They have things that are bigger than them that they're willing to die for. Now, the soldier that stayed alive, he could grab on to the trauma and then traumatize himself for the rest of his life, which will really make his friend's death so like a waste, almost like irrelevant, because this is not what he died for. He died for you to be free, to be able to live, a full life. But instead of holding on to those moments of when the friend was killed, he's able to hold on to something higher than that, to why his friend decided to give his life, why his friend went to the army, why his friend, what was his friend's ideal. And when we're able to do that, then we don't have an issue of post-trauma. Then we don't have our lives constantly being brought down by memories that diminish us, rather than going to the higher reason of being of the people around us. In other words, we're trying to find, there's the surface, and the surface is that my father said that he's going to leave, and that's at the surface. But then we want to go to the neshama of the matter, and the neshama of the matter is that my father was a committed and dedicated and stayed, even though it was hard, through thick and thin, because he wanted to give me and my siblings a feeling of a father and a mother, right? So we want to grab onto the neshama of things, as opposed to staying in the surface area of experience. So now I want to come back to myself and how I experienced the past 3 months, and why I haven't been giving classes for a very long time. So for 4 months, I was in the hospital with the baby, or not even in the hospital, just trying to help Malka and Or and the children and the baby. It was like trying to be a support system also for my daughter and also for my granddaughter. It was like I tried to build like a protection around them, around the family, around the core family, around my granddaughter. And then we did not have to be in the hospital any longer, and we were going, just 3 times a week, then 2 times a week in like as an outpatient. It's called ishpuz yom. Like they, how do you say that in English? They like they admit you just for the day. So at the beginning it was 3 times a week, then 2 times a week, and now, God willing, it's going to be once a week that she has to go in just to get chemo and have blood tests taken. And I realized what was happening to myself is that every morning when I woke up, my mind would relive the days in the hospital, the days holding on to her while food was being pumped to her and her throwing up and having fever, and I was constantly living, I would say, the trauma of what it was to try to hold everything together. And what I was holding on to was a lot of fear and stress. However, if I want to grow up to the next level, I need to be able to think about what is built in me thanks to Michal Levona, right? Thanks to Michal Levona. In other words, I can hold on to the trauma, but that would be not allowing the waste to come out of my body. And that basically holds me in constant constipation, right? And the trauma is unwillingness to relinquish what's not necessary for us, what poisons us. So I want to be able to relinquish the pain and suffering, which is, I want to be able to relinquish it. And the way to relinquish it is to be able to figure out what in me is built, thanks to Michal Levona. What is built in me? Now, when I think about it, I think that what was built is a lot of togetherness in our family. What was also built is the knowledge that I have a lot of strength, that there's a lot of strength in me, that I was able to, most of the time, hold Malka, to be able to like give Malka the ability to have time for herself and to function as a mother to her other children, to be able to give Or also like the freedom to be able to he didn't go to work or anything like that, but the freedom to know that while he's in the hospital, the house is taken care of, and when he's in the house with the children, the baby is very well taken care of. The strength that I was able to develop in myself, the knowledge is this is something that is my next level that I want to grow to, that everything is not on me. And when I want to relinquish, God is going to come in and he'll take over, right? That's a learning. It's something that was not built in me yet, but it's something that I discovered about myself. I discovered about myself that I tend to feel like if it's not me, it's not going to happen. But being able to relinquish that enables other people, like enables God to come in. What was built in me also was what I realized about myself with Michal Levona is that I have expectations from other people. I have like I want this one to do this and that one to do that, and wanting from other people is something I need to relinquish. So those are the things that like I realized that were built in me. Something else that was built in me is I know like whenever I met people in the situation of their child having cancer or going like parents going through difficult times, people going through difficult times, like I never knew like to talk, not to talk. I would tiptoe. I don't want to hurt their feelings, make them feel bad, blah blah, like and never knowing what to do. I so know what to do. I know how to talk to people who are suffering. I know that when people are going through something like that, I want to make sure that their house is clean, that there's food in their home, that their children are well taken care of. In other words, going through this experience built in me the strength and the ability to know what to do, to know what to, whereas before I wasn't sure what I was doing. Also, Malka, she also says like now she hears about people in her broad community that are going through similar, like there's someone in her community that their child was born with a DNA of a dwarf. It's like something, and it wasn't genetic or anything like that. That they realized that something was wrong, and a half a year later they found out that the child. So she's able to walk into the house and sit down with the mother and know that the mother needs to go through a period of mourning. That that it's a kind of a roller coaster that you are not sure where you're going to be heading. So it built in Malka the strength of being able to approach people who are suffering and to let them know that she knows what they're going through and she's there with them. And the journey is sometimes lonely and sometimes scary, but there are tools she could give them to get through it. So So as we go through Matan Torah, I want us to be able to relinquish the pain and suffering that we're carrying around through various life experience that we've had, right? So that is departing from the excess, from the unnecessary, for the rest of our journey. Our journey here in this world is one that God gives us. It's not something, it's something that was tailored, exactly made for us, exactly made for us. And in this journey, like we weren't, we didn't always ask for what we were given, but this is what God gave us. And because we were given that, it means that there's a growth we can gain through it. And I want to take it to another level. Not only can we grow from it, but we can give from our experience to the people around us. From the growth that we have, we're able to help those in our life, okay? Because it was tailor-made for us. Now, on this journey that we have, that I call life, we take a backpack. And I want to put in this backpack things that will serve me for my journey. And I want to give an example. I went on a backpacking trip through the desert with a couple of friends, and it was very, very challenging. There was difficulties. There was uphill and downhill, and we were climbing with, there are ladders going up and and down, and everything was very steep and dangerous. Before we left on the trip, in order to get through this trip well, we need to be very careful into what we pack, because we don't want to carry anything excessive. Right? We don't want to carry anything excessive. And I realized that as I was going through the journey, I saw that things in me were built. My muscles, my heart, like I felt like using my body was building my body, and the togetherness with my friend was being built. Also, the ability to withstand difficulties on the way. Now, the backpack was heavy, but we took like food and water and everything, just everything that we really needed. And I also took a book with me. It ended up being a book that I didn't read, and it was excessive. It was extra weight that I was carrying on that I really didn't need. It wasn't necessary. It was wearing out, and it wears us out. Just like when we don't go to the bathroom every day, it exhausts our systems. This heaviness wears us out. Now I'm leaving the physical heaviness, and I want to go to the heaviness that's in us, right? There are people who sometimes, like, we just stack upon ourselves a load of, let's say, of jealousy, of criticism, of like when we compare us to other people. These are loads that we take upon ourselves that create a heaviness in us. There's a heaviness of things just have to be, just so, and just my way, and just the right way. Like, it's so much fun to be with a person who's light, who just lets things roll, who is not carrying this kind of a burden that creates them into someone who is not so pleasant to go through life with. So we need to understand that in our life's journey, we need to choose carefully what we want to take with us. Now, in Sefirat HaOmed, we're preparing ourselves to receive the Torah. Why do we need 49 days to prepare for it? So there's a reason, and the reason is that as the Jewish people, Hashem told us that He'll reveal to us, right? How do we go in this world on a track to bring us to our goals, to bring us. Now, for this very reason, I was brought into this world. I was brought into this world in order for me to take my experiences, to take everything that's put in my path, and to be able to walk the path in a way that I'm able to do it lightly, happily, without the weight of the world on my shoulders. Now, going out of Egypt is something endless. We're constantly trying to leave like the Mitzrayim is narrow, right? It's a constant journey, but it's an ability to go out of the narrow, out of my narrow way of looking at things that we tend sometimes to look at the world that in a narrow way as if my point of view is the only point of view. If things are done differently, then I am not willing to accept it or to, see that there might be different angles and different ways to look at things. I'm just very focused in my narrow way. And Hashem is trying to tell us, no, we're going to go out of the narrow straight, and we're going to be able to not have a narrow point of view on people, because when we have this kind of narrow point of view, we give people in our heads, we give them names like they don't care, he's messy, she's selfish, they're not as a committed parent, she's a good mother, she's not a good mother. This is when we see people very narrowly. We see people at the surface, as opposed to seeing people, their neshama. And this is the mitzrayim that I want to leave. I want to leave the narrow point of view that is in my head. I want to be able to see people as very expanded kind of individuals, people that are more neshama than surface. Now, when we accept the Torah, there are two ways there are two aspects of accepting the Torah. One, the Torah is mitzvot. We get mitzvot, and it's a way, it's like God's way of teaching us how to live in this world. And we want to be able, and this, each one, every one of us, I mean, this is something that I'm not going to do with you, but it's something that we need to know. We get the mitzvot because Hashem wanted us to learn the beauty of living in this world. And in order for Hashem, he wanted to just give us kindness. That's why he created us. Part of his kindness was giving us the Torah, which has the mitzvot, which is like a self-help book on how to live life in a way that could uplift us. Okay? So each one of us can take various mitzvot in the Torah and study them, and not say, oh, what is this for? What does it have to do with me? How does it affect my life? Or this is just a pain. No, God didn't give us a pain when he gave us the mitzvot. He gave us a gift. And our job is to delve into the mitzvot and see how they nurture and nourish us, and how they could like add goodness into our life. And another way I could come to accept the Torah is to build myself as a vessel, to take my midot, right? To take my characteristics and try to expand myself so that the Torah could go in me. And now, how do I create that vessel? How do I do that? That vessel is built through the mitzvah of the ahavta l'rehacha kamocha. When we love the people around us just as I love myself. And I want to tell you that we are so far from this. We hear the ahavta l'rehacha kamocha, right? What does it mean really to love the other like I love myself? First of all, it means that I need to love all parts of myself. There are parts of myself that I am down on, that I criticize, that I see in a negative way, right? However, those parts are parts that serve me because they have their dark part and they have their light part. Let's say, I want to give an example of parts of myself, let's say that I'm not so crazy about. Okay, I could tell you I love to eat, and I eat endlessly. So that's a part of myself that, let's say, I don't like. However, there's a part of that, like loving to eat means loving life. And I want to be able to love that part of myself. Even when I eat, I know I love life, and that's why I eat. Um, there's a part of me, let's say, that's jealous. Like I look at um, someone who is, hmm, I could say what I'm jealous about, but I don't want to say it as I'm taping myself. Um, so I'm not going to take myself. Anyone that hears this, got to hear it. Hold on. Yeah. Um, okay. So there, so there, many of the people around us are, and even some of my children are very, very different from me. Now, different in Hebrew is there's a word for different, and it's called shoneh, shoneh. And there's a word for hate, and it's called soneh. It is written the same exact thing. You just say it, one is shoneh and one is soneh. Shoneh is different, and soneh is hate. I usually don't like those that are different from me. And the way to receive the Torah is the ability, there's no big deal to love the people that are similar to me and think like me and do like me and function like me. Those, it's very easy to love. Like I'm thinking I have a daughter and she is very much like me and she's raising her children like I did. And the way she, the choices she made are choices that I would make. And so it's very simple to love her. But what Rabbi Akiva was saying when he says "Ve'havta l'reacha kamocha," right? Ze kvar gadol b'Torah. Rabbi Akiva was saying, if I can love even the things in me that are not lovable, if I'm able to get to their neshama, I will be able to also love the people who do not think like me, do not act like me, do not live like me, right? And that's where the test of love really is. That to love those that are different from me. And that's the vessel I want to build in order to get the Torah. I want to be able to look at people who are very different from me and be able to love them, right? In me, I have, hatred, competition, jealousy. That's not a way to receive the Torah. No, it's not. God gave us a gift, and I want to be able to create a kind of a vessel of myself to be able to accept that gift. That's the gift I want to accept. I want to give another idea about Rabbi Akiva and his students and the Omer and accepting the Torah. What we just said. To be able to love that's different from us. So we all know Rabbi Akiva had an enormous love. It's interesting that he said "Ve'havta l'reacha kamocha" because Rabbi Akiva is the epitome of loving. He has a very big love story with his wife. His wife, he met him when he was just a shepherd and saw his potential, and he realized, and she sent him to learn Torah, and he became like this incredible Talmid Chacham who had 24,000 students. Yet what happened with his students? How could it be that Rabbi Akiva that said "Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha," it said that his students did not have kavod for one another, which is why they were killed in a plague, or there was like they were killed. I don't know how, but 24,000 students he lost because they had no kavod for one another. So the reason is because sometimes when we love another person, and we want to give them our opinion and our points of view and the way we live our life and the way we think things should be done. And on the way, we stop respecting them because we feel our way is the only way. And we don't realize that everyone has a certain facet and aspect of the truth. All the truth doesn't reside only within us. And then we try to give the people around us our truth in a way that doesn't respect who they are, because we are totally negating who they are and the way they decided to live their lives. And the truth that they hold to be. So I think the big challenge in these days, and especially in Israel, I would say, is that we love the people around us, and we need to know that there's a part of the truth that we have, and they have other parts of the truth, and we need to have kavod towards them. Because without that kavod, Rabbi Akiva's students were taken from this world. They were taken, even though they had the biggest teacher who spoke a lot about love and had a very loving relationship with his wife. And I'm sure that the love of the other was very much taught. But sometimes when we love others, we almost lose our respect for them because we are trying to put our opinions and points of view and what we do and the way we do on them. And that sort of erases them. So we're going to try to, and the flip side is when we do have that kavod, eventually people come to us and they want to hear what we have to say. They're interested to hear what we have to say. And when people are interested in what we have to say, that's when we can really say what we have to give in a way that would be heard, in a way that would be respected and respectful of the other. Only when the other asks us for our opinion, for what we think, for what, only then is it respectful to be able to say it. We had Yom HaShoah was 3 days ago, and I heard something really beautiful about the Rabbi of San, who was in the Holocaust and lost his wife and 11 children, ended up coming to Israel. And when he was in Auschwitz, he swore to himself that if he comes out alive, he is going to want to just do good in this world. That's what he's going to want to do. And he ended up coming to Israel and building a hospital and in Netanya and really making the town. And he was able to get. He was a Rebbe. He had Hasidim, and he ended up building a very huge Hasidut. He got remarried. He had another 9 children after the war. He literally lost everyone. And he said that there are times that he looks back on his days in the Holocaust and he wishes that he was back there. And the people hearing him, they were shocked. And they said, what in the world would you ever wish that you were back there for? And he said, I want to tell you, when we walked into the work camps, they shaved everyone. We all looked the same. And because we looked the same, no one knew this is religious, this is not religious. He's a Hasid, he is a Mitnaged. We were all equal. We were all alike. And in this world, when we're, free and in Israel, people look at one another and in a derogatory way. Oh, he's black hat, she's white hat. She wears this, but he doesn't wear that. They do this in their house. They don't do that in that house. He said in the Holocaust, when we were there, the Germans just equalized us all. There was no one looking around and saying, he's this, he's that. We were all the same. And that feeling is something that I'm looking for I'm looking for. I miss it. That was something that he missed. I want to say one last thing. And it's something that I heard from Rav Shlomo Karlebach. It was and it's something that he said on the 7th day of Pesach. He said that when God built the waters, he told the water, you're going to be in the ocean and you're going to always be flowing from a high, your natural thing is to be flowing from a high point to a low point. And that's your characteristic. However, there's going to be one time in history that you're going to have to change your characteristic, and the Jewish people are going to need to walk through you. And instead of flowing one way from high to low, you're going to have to split. So the water said, who are those people that we're going to split ourselves for? So Hashem said, I'll show you their neshamot. And the waters looked at the neshamot of the people that were going to pass through them, and they said, we are going to commit. We are going to split at the time that these neshamot need to pass through. And then the time came, and Moshe, put his rod on the water, and God brought a very big wind, and the sea, just like it committed in the seventh day of Bereshit, split. And as the sea sees the people going through, it tells God, these are not the people that, like, they saw people that were filled with like jealousy or petty things, or people who are complaining, and they saw the people and they said, these are not the people that we committed to split ourselves for. Like, you pulled one off on us. And Hashem told them, no. And every single one of them is that pure neshama that you saw and you committed to. This is just their outer peel. This is just the outer surface. Inside of each and every one, there's a very high neshama, which is why it said that the ocean, it doesn't say that the ocean came back to what it was. It said that the ocean came back le'etano. Le'etano, it's to a strength. Like the ocean needed to be able to see the neshamot once again that they had seen previously, and know we split ourselves for these neshamot. In other words, they needed to go back to before time to see the core of the neshama in order to be able to be whole with the fact that they went against their nature and split. So I guess what I'm saying is, as we come towards Matan Torah, I want us to be able, I'm recapping now, I want us to be able to separate, the unnecessary things that we carry around and relinquish it, and pray to Hashem to help us do so. Walk in this world in a much lighter way, in a lighter fashion, to be able to have kavod for the people around us, to see into their neshama, to realize that we're not going to judge anyone around us. We're going to be able to see beyond the surface of the people around us, to be able to, because we love them, have kavod for them. And the people who are different from us, those are the ones we're going to invest in to love. Like, I have a friend, I don't even have to say I have a friend. Like, we know that the people who are most like us and that are successful, and it's like so simple and easy to be with them and easy to love them. We're gonna make the effort to love those who are different from us. That the shoneh is not going to be a soneh. The shoneh is going to be ahu, is going to be love.